Here we're going to look at some pricing decisions. So what we're going to be looking at is to explain, evaluate and use cost plus pricing strategies. We're also going to be looking at evaluating a range of factors influencing prices, and we'll be selecting and evaluating relevant information for tactical and long-term product mix decisions. The major influences on pricing decisions include the market positioning, whether the organisation wants to have a high quality, high cost product or a high volume, low cost product, what the product costs are, whether it is a high cost product and therefore it needs to be a high price product, what value the customer sees in the product. If the customer values it as high quality, then we can have a high price. If the customer doesn't value the quality so highly, then the price may need to be low. We also need to consider what the competitors' behaviour is. Are they going to be cutting prices to give them greater market share? And we'll need to look at some legal and political and ethical issues. We'll first of all be looking at economic profit maximising models. Now, the economic model focuses on the optimal price and sales quantity that will maximise profit. To consider this, we need to consider the price elasticity, and this goes back to your economics, where price elasticity is the impact of price changes on sales volume. So as the price goes up, does the sales volume reduce? We also need to consider what the cross elasticity is, to the extent at which a change in a product's price can affect the demand for a substitute product. As the cost and the consumer price for electricity went up, people started to think about substitute products such as gas for heating and water heating, or moving to solar energy to create their own electricity, to not have to pay the high price for electricity delivered through the grid. We also need to remember that demand is elastic if the price increase has a large negative impact on the sales volume, whereas the demand is inelastic if a price change has little or no impact on sales quantity. Measuring elasticity is an important objective of market research, but it is not something that can be done with a great deal of objectivity. So there are a number of limitations for the economic model. It's very difficult to precisely determine the firm's demand and curve and the marginal revenue curve, and many factors other than price affect product demand. And it's not valid for all forms of markets. And of course there is a difficulty of measuring marginal cost. Most cost systems are not designed to do this. So the number of pricing strategies is value-based pricing, economic value pricing and cost plus pricing. We're going to be focusing on cost plus pricing. Cost plus pricing formulas are where the price is equal to cost plus a market percentage times the cost, and it's the most common formula for pricing used in the retail industry. Now, the markup percentage is dependent on the definition of the product cost issue. The definition of the product cost used. There are two issues. First of all, what is the best definition of cost to be used in the formula, and how is the desired markup to be determined? There are two product costing definitions that we'll be looking at: the absorption cost pricing formula and the variable cost pricing formula. Absorption costing provides a very justifiable price. It's perceived to be equitable to all parties, and it's usually provided by a firm's costing system, quite cost effective to be used. The disadvantages, of course, are that it obscures the cost behaviour patterns of the firm, and it's not consistent with CVP analysis, which we've looked at in previous topics. But variable cost pricing also has problems. It doesn't, well, and benefits. It doesn't obscure the cost behavior pattern by unitizing fixed costs. It's very useful for short-term pricing decisions, but of course the disadvantages are that in the long term, prices must be set to cover all costs, and of course that's what absorption costing does, and of course give a normal profit margin. So managers must use high markups when using variable costs to ensure that the fixed costs are covered. Then we need to consider how we determine the markup, and it can be done by using a return on investment pricing, where the selling price is determined by using the required rate of return to determine the markup. The profit margin is based on the firm's target return on investment, whereas the average investment is the target return on investment, giving you the target profit. So the market percentage is the profit required to achieve the target return on investment, plus the total annual cost not included in the cost base, over the annual volume times the cost base per unit used in the cost plus pricing formula. In this we can look at time and material pricing, where cost plus pricing uses separate labour and material charges. The labour charge includes charge for labour-related overhead and profit margin, and the material charge includes a charge for material-related overhead. So we've got some example data here: the labour rate of $25 per hour, the annual labour hours of 10,000 hours, the annual overhead costs. We've got material handling and storage of 40,000 and other overhead costs of 200,000, and the annual cost of materials is 1 million. So the time charges, we've got $25 per hour plus $20,000 over 10,000 plus 7 gives you $52 per hour. And the material charges is the material cost incurred on the job times plus the material cost incurred on the job times 4 cents per dollar of material cost. So have a look at how that's calculated and follow that through in your textbook. So cost plus pricing, let's summarize this. Its effective price setting requires a constant interplay between market considerations and cost awareness. It may be used to establish a starting point for setting prices, and probably this is the most common use for it in wholesaling. Cost plus price formulas are quite simple, can be applied mechanically to update prices for multiple products, and can be used with a variety of cost definitions. But it's not the be-all and end-all, because we've got to consider the market. We've got to consider other factors that are affecting the demand for the product. So remember, cost plus pricing is a starting point. It's not the end point for most pricing decisions.